Summer's here, the sun is shining, the grass is green, and you know what that means. It's festival season. Prime time to gather thousands of degenerates into a muddy field with the promise of activities, food, and most importantly, horrendously mixed live music. On the surface, music festivals seem like an entirely positive experience, a chance for you to escape your wage-cuck lifestyle, enjoy some nature, do a bit of camping, all whilst being able to listen to your favorite music for multiple days. And then you realize other people exist, the food options are more than likely going to be heinous, and the festival organizers very rarely have your best interests in mind and would rather maximize profits than attendee enjoyment. Suddenly, a music festival transforms from a music fan's paradise into an absolute nightmare, with various stenches, germs, and abhorrent personalities being confined within a small area with no escape. The issues that plague music festivals can fit into various different categories, with the first being the environmental issues. So the vast majority of music festivals take place outdoors. This can cause a variety of issues based on just the weather alone. As a proud resident of the United Kingdom, rain is a very familiar concept for me, although apparently it's completely alien for most festival organizers, as heavy rain can completely destroy a festival. In no time, every surface transforms into brown sludge, with the first instinct of most festival attendees being to dive head first into the gloop, emerging like some sort of swamp demon. These troglodytes then make their way to the stage area in an attempt to infect every audience member with some sort of mud-related disease. Heavy rain doesn't only lead to mud. It has often resulted in sets being completely cancelled, as the rain can cause health risks in combination with the technology on stage. Heavy rain is probably an alien concept to the vast majority of my audience that reside in America, who instead have to deal with atrocious levels of heat at festivals, as well as just being surrounded by Americans, but that's besides the point. Sun, dehydration, and endless amounts of walking often leads to severe cases of heat stroke, but don't worry, the festival has you sorted. They'll make sure to sell you a $5 bottle of water out of the kindness of their own heart. Many of the environmental problems at festivals are as a direct result of the attendees. Festivals create a sort of lawless atmosphere where it feels like you can basically do whatever the fuck you want. The lowest form of crime people choose to commit as a result of this is endless amounts of littering, as well as pissing on every visible surface. Fortunately, festivals are well aware of the vast amounts of waste that can be produced and hire cleaners. This seems like a good idea on the surface, but then you realize most of these cleaners are being paid in free festival tickets, food, and alcohol, resulting in individuals who are more interested in cleaning out the confiscated candy stash than the festival grounds. This happened at the first festival I ever went to. I was 14 at the time and woke up to somebody screaming like a banshee in the middle of the night. I found out in the morning that the individual screaming was one of the staff and had decided to ravage through the confiscated candy stash. He then proceeded to climb the nearest tree and scream throughout the night. I'd imagine his pupils were probably a similar size to an owl's, so I guess he fit the role pretty well. The consequence of hiring people to clean who would rather just attend the festival is having cleaners that rarely do enough to actually keep the festival tidy. Unfortunately, I doubt there's any amount of money on the planet that will convince somebody to clean the toilets at a music festival. Festivals are attended by many different types of people, with many different habits in terms of sanitation, resulting in most porta potties looking like somebody just got shot in the head. Fortunately, music festivals take pride in offering various food options. How about we take a peep at the tasty items you can receive at a music festival?
So good and tasty.
Looks absolutely splendid. I'm sure it won't give you eternal damage. All jokes aside, if the food isn't absolutely heinous, with a high probability of giving you food poisoning, it's either overpriced, not suitable for somebody who spent 3 days trudging around in the heat and taking various substances, or it's just falafel. For some reason, every festival has falafel. Most festival goers choose a horrendous amount of baked beans as opposed to the food on site, making it less of an issue when it comes to outdoor festivals. One of the issues I do have is the unethical practices regarding water at some of these festivals. Various festivals throughout the UK decide to utilize a singular bottled water company and sell said bottles of water for an exorbitant markup. They've also been known to ban the selling of bottled drinks amongst the independent sellers, only allowing these said vendors to sell canned drinks. This results in the only option for festival festival goers being an extremely overpriced small bottle of water. I'm not sure if you're aware of the average festival attendee, but they're usually not willing to spend that much on just a bottle of water, resulting in various alcohol-fueled heat stroke aficionados having health scares in regards to dehydration. This is quite clearly an effort from festivals to maximize profits, because somehow the high ticket, alcohol and merch prices aren't enough for these motherfuckers. Whilst we're on the topic of cutting corners to maximize profits, there have been various disasters throughout the history of music festivals, with many of even the most iconic and nostalgic festivals throughout history having its organization be extremely rushed. This can result in absolute Limp Bizkit related disaster in the case of Woodstock 99, and can occasionally result in a pleasurable festival if every attendee is a sedated hippie, like in the case of Woodstock 69. One of the most important aspects of a music festival is obviously the music. Without the live sets, festivals would just be a large campsite gathering, with the main benefit of camping being nature being completely absent. Unfortunately, the overall design of a festival often leads to various issues in regards to the live sets. Festivals have to fit countless bands into a 3-day period, meaning most artists are given extremely short set times, with an even shorter break in between bands to set up. This results in sound techs having to frantically set up and sound check pieces of equipment with very little time to do so, resulting in the mixing rarely being applicable to the particular band. This, combined with difficulties in terms of acoustics that an outdoor venue can bring, results in the bands rarely sounding how they should. The short breaks in between sets also causes large problems if any issue results in delays. Each band needs to be pushed back, with various smaller acts being cut short to let the headliners play their full allotted time before the evening curfew. Musicians obviously hate being cut short, and due to the fact most musicians are stimulant abusing man-children, they will routinely destroy the sound equipment at the end of their set, only resulting in more setbacks and work for the staff who are just attempting to make the festival run smoothly. At times, organizers seem to have a lack of understanding when it comes to designing the actual lineups. Classic rock festivals like Reading and Download are having their lineups consistently watered down to appeal to a more pop-related audience. This makes it even more confusing when they decide to host heavier, counterculture-related bands, obviously leading to fanbase clashes, which best case scenario leads to whiny individuals and poor atmospheres during certain acts, with half the crowd impatiently waiting so they can get a good spot for the next act, and worst case scenario, opposing subcultures and fan bases literally get into scuffles and fights within the crowd. Most large festivals that aren't consistently watering down their lineups are instead focusing heavily on nostalgia. Upon viewing the vast majority of rock-based festivals as of late, you are harassed with older bands. These performances and appeal rely partially on nostalgia, which at times can be amazing. These bands mean a lot to a vast amounts of people. It just signals to my nihilistic brain a desire to cash in on nostalgia to continue to make as much money as possible, as opposed to supporting the growth of the industry that makes these festivals possible. We do have one other issue to address. People tend to be pretty heinous at times, and music festivals just so happen to gather tens of thousands of people into an inescapable prison of mud, E. coli and poorly mixed microphones. It's a sad reality that the vast majority of festival-related issues are as a direct result of the attendees: ginormous men attempting to crowd surf, thieves, tent burners, crowd killers, people that light flares, people that have flags with horrendously outdated memes. I could go on and on. You'd think some level of security would sort many of these issues, which can be the case, although security suffers from a similar issue to the cleaners. In my experience, festival security comes in two forms, one of which being a heshed out grease lord brain fogging his way through work and pretty much allowing any form of behavior regardless of how unethical it is, or a job's worth whose sole objective is to strip search anyone with dreadlocks in hopes of confiscating a little bit of devil's lettuce. Despite this extremely negative rant, I actually find music festivals to be very enjoyable. For some reason, I find the chaos of a festival far more relaxing than taking time away from regular life to simply just do nothing. They allow for fans of a particular genre to truly come together, and I believe the vast majority of interactions at these festivals are incredibly positive. It just so happens that negative content does much better than positive content on this platform, so maybe that says more about you than it does about me.